What's up, everybody? This is Enlightened Masculinity Podcast. I'm Yogi Chris, PhD, aka Captain Yogi or Captain Chris, Captain, IMC Nation Captain. So that's the highest rank in IMC Nation except the founder. And then we have 4 lieutenants, IMC Nation 4 lieutenants, and then 2 kusei, who are sharks. And they might also be considered lieutenant. It's like a different rank, but kind of parallel in authority. Although maybe even more. It's kind of its own thing. It would be like there's the military and then there's like the judiciary branch or something. There's like the executive branch, judiciary branch. They're like a different, they're like judges almost. And then everybody else were almost like military, AZD being like the president or whatever. And I'm like, I don't know, 2, 3, 4-star general, something like that. All right. We got a bunch of people on Instagram. Oh, I didn't stream this to Facebook. Let me pause recording. I'm going to do that. Okay, we're back to this recording. Yogi Chris, Captain Yogi. I was going over the ranks. And then here we are, Enlightened Masculinity Podcast. This is a free stream available on all of the podcast apps called Enlightened Masculinity. This is going to have the red pill as I've learned it, as I've studied it, and the red pill, especially of masculinity. But I think the red pill being the truth bomb or the truth pill applies to at least 3 spheres: the spiritual sphere, the money/government sphere, and the mating sphere between men and women. And there's, a lot of conspiracy theorists and QAnoners or whatever, and others that maybe don't associate with those groups that are pretty red-pilled on government money. Some of them even find, like Phoenix, we know IMC Phoenix, he finds his complete autonomy and has no birth certificate, no nothing, anything that links him to the government. It's also very difficult to get a job like that. So want to work out your entrepreneurship maybe before you do that. I don't know. But he's free like that. And then, the spiritual, there's a lot of people that would claim that. They're still kind of trapped. And I think to some degree, you're always going to be trapped spiritually if you haven't figured out the mating code and the red pill of mating. But they can also, I think they have a trump card in that spiritualists have a trump card, is they can transcend relationships or whatever. It's just very rare among the people that even claim they have. So that's it's quite a wild card there. And then what we got is the red pill of all that. And that's what this show is. So this episode is called Resilience and Emotional Buttons. And it's necessarily, I'm going to talk about relaxation and yoga. And so when that happens, then I'll tell you how you could learn any of that from me. That is a side thing from me. That's what I used to do. I'm still Yogi Chris because I still practice meditation twice a day, practice my yoga stretches at least once a day. And then, of course, I pull from all my experience and training in that, which have been trained by and trained with very top guys. I can name them. You wouldn't know them because they're not Bikram. And that's the only one you know, probably, or Sadhguru. It's not them. And they're great. They got a lot of great mental yoga, but they're also, weak noodles and whatever. I learned physical yoga. And I'd love to share that with you, but we're going to move into resilience and emotional buttons. There's a difference between, oh, and by the way, for more on this, go to imcbase1.com. That's where the trainings, because, I'm here and most of you are here. Let's see. Son of Babylon, Oleg, Matthew, Senor Roque, Lone Wolf, Tyler Powell, Zay, Kusei, Oracle, Star of Truth, Kusei, Powerhouse, and you all are here because of IMC Nation. And the guy next to me founded IMC Nation. He's in the other room. He's with one of his girlfriends right there. And his name is AZD. So I live with him here with 2 other guardians, and we call this base 1 because there's many bases, because IMC Nation is very big. There's actually hundreds of guys that are hella dedicated and committed on this path of what? Enlightenment. That's what it is. It's a path of enlightenment, and it's unlike any other movement anywhere, especially when it comes to people that claim they're going for enlightenment. It's a different kind of spiritual man. We're really bringing back masculinity. We're the antivirus to feminism. And the tribe goes very big, very deep. This is the first base 1, and that's where I live. That's where this is being broadcast from, in San Jose, California. So more recently, through all the teachings and interactions, I'm in a privileged position, or a very fortunate, or the privilege and the fortune came from being born to my parents. So I don't know what else I'm so fortunate or privileged about. I've made decisions and worked hard and faced the consequences and the sacrifices. So it's not necessarily fortunately, but anyway, the new evolution has a lot to do for me with rest, rejuvenation, and this resilience. And resilience comes in because there's a difference between your mind and your heart, your body, your ego, settling down and versus healing. There's a healing, and then there's like a destimulating or a calming down and not being so triggered or trigger happy. That's a good way to say it. When people are argumentative, they're trigger happy. When they're confrontational, they're trigger happy. When it's like walking on glass around them, they're trigger happy. They're triggered, which brings them closer to being more triggered in other ways too. It's just re-stimulation on different levels. So there's the healing of that, which would have to do with, some people call it belief systems, but rewriting inside. And there's a resilience that is an ability to return to that state. So there's a resilience when I have a PhD in environmental sciences, and there's a term used for ecosystems. How resilient is that ecosystem? And this was like one of those things that there was a lot of debate about, like, how do you define this word? What is resilience? How do you measure that? And although I'm a few years displaced from it, so I don't know exactly what it is now, but it was something like the ability of the system to return to its peak condition after being disturbed or pulled off of its condition. Resilience. So when you're re-stimulated on something, or when somebody says something that really bothers you or gets to you, or some situation or circumstance, something that happened is sticking in your consciousness, replaying more or less. I mean, it doesn't have to be just like really loud at the forefront replaying, but you keep thinking about it through your day, through your weeks, maybe to yourself, but definitely to other people. They may notice that at 10 a.m. he was like this, but at 2 p.m. he's like that. And he's been like that for 2 days now. There's something a little different. We're less aware of that. We adjusted our frequency so much, but other people can see it. Just like we can see it in them, they don't see it in themselves as much. And you behave better and communicate better when you're not stuck in an incident, as they would say, stuck in that situation, or that what was said and you didn't say the right thing back, or you said something and you regret it, or, I mean, it basically comes down to communication. It's all going to come down to communication. You either said something you regret, or you didn't say something you wish you had said, to like handle it. And so there's a skill set to have the handling for whatever is said, whatever circumstance you come up, that comes up with you. All kinds of new circumstances. You start dating the girl at work. You don't know how to communicate for safe boundaries and everything. Or, dad or mom invalidates you on something and you just, man, you didn't say the right thing back. Or, you got into that argument and you said the thing and it just keeps sticking around, and you cursed or you called names, and it was like, man, where did that come from? Like, I regret it now. When at the time it felt so right. I was, and it came almost from like a different personality, because how many times you have to go through that to realize that like you're losing some control in the emotion. You're losing awareness. It's like it felt right then, but then it doesn't seem right now. And time again, that happens where it was right in the moment, but then it wasn't right later. It's like 2 + 2 is 4, no matter how you feel about it. So somehow your decision, your morals changed in that emotion. What was appropriate or right. And so recognizing when your vibe is off, being around people, that's one of the benefits of living in the base. Being around guys that are on this path, not girls. Girls will soften you. Girls will be needy. Girls aren't as disciplined or strong on this path. And they'll get between guys. So living with guys on this path makes one more accountable, and not because of punishment or whatever, but because we all want each other to be better. We can help each other become aware where we ourselves are not aware. not by sitting down and having a therapy session, but just through our interactions daily. Just you'll notice things. You will grow and evolve like on another dimension and just another level that's not available to solo living. And you'll catch these things when you're, off your vibe because of you were affected by something and you're holding it somewhere. So how do you let it go? That's like calming, relaxing, releasing, surrendering, different words for a similar thing, but also different practices in themselves. Relaxing is like this physical thing, but as you relax deeper physically, blood vessels relax. Everything, joints relax. It's really muscles, but they may come apart a little bit in space, and then osmosis or reverse a vacuum is formed, and so it pulls nutrients into those. And it's amazing how much wellness will come into your body and how that will also have a positive feedback on your state of mind. So much of the state of mind is breathing, blood circulation, lymph circulation. Lymph is like a immune fluid that has its own channels. It's just not talked about much. Which is a great example of you're only aware of like what's been talked about. Like you're so aware, but if nobody ever told you what lymph is and you don't even know how important that is, you've heard of a lymph node, you've got channels like blood vessels that go lymph to lymph to lymph. It's not just a remote lymph that's just out there by itself. And it's anyway, that's not so important. It's just, we feel so smart and wise, but there's so much we don't know. So how you treat people around you to organize their efforts and, that's going to be a leadership role, but how you play a part in the tribe. Like all these guys are IMC Nation and they have a role to play. Tyler Powell is apprenticing and using his expertise to make ads for IMC Base One. Johnny Freedom employed like 7 people or something. And they were coming to camp. How many camps have they come to? Because Johnny Freedom was like, I'm just going to do this thing. I'm going to be part of the tribe and do this role. Should be a rank of his own. Johnny Freedom's almost a lieutenant. He just needs to do a private moment. So this basic idea of relaxing destimulates you so that you respond better. And you need to start to notice the difference between how you're responding when you're in anger or sadness or some chronic thing that's like in you, it's gripping your heart, when there's a closure in your heart. To discern and notice the closing of the heart, you must experience heart open, heart relaxed, so that you can see the contrast and feel the grip when something is affecting you. And then the meditation, we all do transcendental meditation, or many like Shavasana, relaxing, and then being lectured on the mind and taught about the mind. You'll start to notice the mind more. As you relax, you notice the mind more as this thing that's like between the world and you, between your senses and you. So it's you, the mind, your senses, the world. And then in comes from the world, the senses, the mind, you. And noticing those, and when those are gripping your heart, or tightening your belly, or gripping your throat, tensing your tongue, tensing your eyes, face, and body posture, everything. You're holding on to an identity that's just a collection of experiences you've made sense out of and put together as a label called your name. And then there's your posture. It's coming from that. How you talk, your sound is coming from that. The language you chose is coming from that. Like the process of communing with nature and throwaway monologue is reshaping. And a lot of things have reshaped my how I communicate, like the vocals and the tonality. But the communing with nature process, which is the next level after private moments, really giving me a handle on my language usage, and I'm giving myself and feeding myself new experiences to communicate from. it doesn't quite do it justice what I'm saying. Let's say you learn how to talk from mimicking mom and dad or whoever. And now I feel like I'm learning how to talk by mimicking my own sense of aesthetics and beauty, perception. So I'm perceiving nature through an aesthetic lens, and I'm learning how to talk by describing it to myself. This huge benefit of being here on Enlightened Masculinity Podcast. Because if you didn't get what I just said, don't worry about it. And if you did, consider that a tremendous gift. So I'm talking about this basic idea of stimulate the mind, respond better, and resilience. And coming from a rested state to face your day gives you more resilience, makes you less affected. Now, rest can be just sleep, but it's not just sleep because there's a quality of sleep. How tense you go into your sleep is going to influence how much rest you get during your sleep. Obviously. And if it's not obvious, maybe it's obvious now that I said it. Again, one of those things it's like you're maybe not aware of until someone says it. And then it's like, oh, it's so obvious. It's like they were doing studies. There was this linguistics book by Steven Pinker, and he said that they were studying anthropologically these tribes that only had one. He said that they hadn't found ever a tribe that had no words for any colors. But what they had was a tribe that only had black and white, dark and light. Like those are the only two words for colors in their vocabulary. And it was the idea of like when you have a word for it, then you can notice it, but you don't notice it till you have a word for it. Or maybe it's a chicken and the egg kind of thing, but it's like they come together. So if you don't have words for the color red, maybe you're not even noticing that that's red. But the thing is I think you would, because nature recognizes red, blues, bright colors, like notices patterns and things, but like something about the divine intellect that actually symbolizes it and like can transmit it, communicate it like that, like a concept. Like, I don't know, do monkeys? I mean, they communicate, but do they see colors? Anyway, so he found this he found this tribe, this tree that, the first color, and it was also the theory of like, what's going to be the first color that they name? It was black and white, light or dark, whatever the translation was. It was dark light. And then what's the next color? What did anybody have a guess? It's the first color that a tribe would word.
Maybe blue, the color of the sky.
Okay, it's one guess. Any others? We'll do two guesses. Tyler Powell says red. Okay, yeah, the answer is red. So, and then I believe blue or green was the second, right? So these primary colors, so distinguishable, so different, although very right next to each other on the EM spectrum. Like I wonder what blue and red looks like to a snake that sees infrared. Everything's different colors. But it's like, what is color? It's just like our perception of light frequency that we've all kind of agreed on because we all basically have the same nervous system. So the tension that you enter into sleep and in how much there's a quality of sleep, how deeply you sleep, how restfully, how restfully. And then there's the variable of how long that is. There's what we do TM meditation, which settles you down. There's Shavasana, which is laying down after yoga, which settles you down. But then there's so many variables in this. This is what are you eating and how are you eating? How agitated is it? How agitating is it for you through your day? But if we just break it down to laying down for Shavasana and to the meditation and the Shavasana that comes after that, and how tense you go into sleep, even how you wake up out of sleep, these things can contribute to your restfulness. If you just wake up and go right to work, even if you got really restful sleep, that might do something. to diminish your energy. If you're working way late, right before you go to sleep, you just go right to sleep, turn your phone over and just go right to sleep. Try while you were trying to figure out that accounting problem or whatever. Or finish that assignment back in the day. I'm 35, but I have a PhD. What experience do you think you have in school that I haven't had? 12 and a half years in university. Taught it for 7 years or 6 years. Big Division I schools. 24,000 undergraduate at OU, 50,000 undergraduate at Florida. Now, it's not Ivy League, so that's a different thing. That's a different beast. I used to teach wrestling with all the UPenn guys, which is the Ivy League. In the summer camps, I would come back to Maryland, and I was right next to Pennsylvania. So we had connections there, and I was teaching with those guys for 2 or 3 summers. So restfulness and coming from a state of rest gives you a lot of resilience in communication. And agitating things that happen, they're not as agitating. And the more you do it day in and day out, you'll kind of see that there's a buffer zone or a buffer space. And the incidents of the day or the miscommunications of the day kind of chip away at your state of mind. You have to do stuff to rearrange what you're thinking about, to interject or inject some rest in your day, to calm down, simmer down. I taught on The Gathering, it was on Dragon's Lair or something the other day. Just belly breathing. Just a real quick belly breathing. It's like the easiest thing ever to calm yourself down. The value of that, because I want you all to make good decisions. Because I know that this is the antivirus of communism and feminism here. I don't think you can properly fight communism until you know how to fight feminism. And once you know how to fight feminism, you'll know the evils of communism. Or so I think. I don't know. There's a lot of pickup artists and dating coaches that are hella liberal with that shit. And they're still trapped, I guess, somewhere on the, how men and women interact. The genetic code. Yeah, so you'll make better decisions. You'll see the truth and the logic. You'll be less perturbable. You'll be less able to be perturbed. And you'll be able to bounce back easier. You'll have better energy. The sound of your voice will be different. There's some qualities of voice I don't know how to describe. It's like a tension, but I can't say where it's tense. I can try to mimic the sound so that you can hear it for yourself. But your sound will change when you calm down. And you might not feel so excited because you're or tense or whatever. You may not feel that way because maybe you live a desk lifestyle. Or maybe you're always in nature. Actually, if you're in nature, you would be probably really calm. But a lot of people that seek nature, they have really troubled minds. And they're really seeking nature. Nature destimulates because all of the miscommunications happen with people, not with trees and rocks and shit. If you had a miscommunication with a bear, you wouldn't want to go to nature. Miscommunication with a snake, you might not want to go to nature. But if you haven't had any miscommunications, then the seeking of nature is a bunch of miscommunications with people. They got you they're on your back about shit and calling you and blah, blah, blah. Rest and rejuvenation, a quality of rest. Value that. Make it more important. You don't know how tense or excited you are until you calm down. At 1 p.m. today, Pacific, I'll teach the Yoga for Sorcerers group. That's Frank White's group that has like 4 or 5 of my yogis on there too. And I'm opening it up to my silent flute group, which is my mindset group, yoga mindset. And so they can join too. I'm going to teach different seated ways to sit and rest. I'm going to give them a short talk on this also, just so that they're caught up. But they already know I've emphasized it in pieces, just like sound bites throughout yoga classes. What the program is 41 or 42 classes right now. They're about 30 to 40 minutes of real gentle yoga that's just going to expand your ability to do yoga on your own. I go to this yoga studio right here, and I choose it because it's within my bicycle radius of like 3 or 4 miles, and the radius, which includes the #1 Bikram studio in North America that I was going to. And, they were the most expensive. And I figured, since I've called 2,000 yoga studios and taught at 65 different yoga studios, that with my awareness of things, that the more expensive it is probably better. And so I go and, whatever. It's okay. Honestly, I need to go again because it was just the one teacher I went to. And she was fine. Everybody was fine doing the yoga class. It was just like basic. Advanced to somebody who hasn't done yoga, it'd be like, whoa, this is so much movement. So I got to keep looking, and it's so hot in here. And, wow, that felt great afterwards. How you were fanning me down after, like, nah, it is too repetitive. And so I'm teaching you ways that are not repetitive. They're 42 unique classes, how to rotate your joints and move to push the circuit. You can tell I know what I'm talking about. And when I say tension before going to sleep, how are you going to relax your tension? You're just going to sit or lay down until the tension melts away? Yeah, that's the basic, easy way to do it. And if you got discipline and perseverance, you'll sit there and make it happen. But stretching and self-massage kind of just helps you use gravity to work your own tension out. And it's amazing. If you know how to do it like I do, a lot of times the effort it takes to do the yoga practice releases more energy than it took to do it. So you come out more energy. There's a lot of energy tied up in tension. So that's at 1 p.m. today. And so I'll teach more on that. But yeah, basically laying down, like Sultan asks me how to prepare for the private moment. I tell him a bunch of stuff to do. One of those things is just lay down. Johnny Freedom knows how to do this. He's going to be better than everybody at this because Johnny Freedom's taken private yoga lessons with me. He's been to yoga workshops with me. He might not realize that his ability to lay down and rest for 10 minutes on his back, he's actually way better than everybody else in this room. Except my bird, that's right there. She probably is better. I don't know. Doesn't matter. I'm not even comparing. So the ability to lay down and go through the mud of your subconscious and your conscious mind and clean it out is a little disturbing, a little agitating. You're going to want to get up. You're not going to want to lay there. You're going to think it's a waste of time. I could do so much better stuff with my 10 minutes. And I'm telling you that you're going to go through that anyway when you go to sleep, and it's going to take away from your sleep, your rest, and you will face the consequences of that day after month after year. Need some handles on the system inside. And that's the easiest hack, how to relax and lay down. Now you're going to come into complications where you're going to get uncomfortable in a serious way, where like your back feels like, this really is not comfortable. Or your hips are like, this is really like discomfort of the physical, like laying down is distracting me from relaxing. And like I said, I'll teach the guys and the girls today on yoga for sorcery, like different ways of sitting, readjusting themselves and moving. It's, when I sit and meditate, I readjust and move how I sit probably 3 or 4 times. I move how I place my hands and use my hands at least 3 or 4 times, maybe 5 or 6 times. And yeah, maybe on the ultimate level, that's a slight distraction from just sitting perfectly motionless still, which I can do also. But that takes away from the rest of the day sometimes. It throws you out of alignment and inhibits your breathing and whatever. You have to do other things later on. The meditation for me is a posture. And I'm doing an ideal posture with alignment and ease. It's like I said, if the effort, if you do good yoga, the effort to do the yoga releases more energy than it took to do it. So the effort to sit up straight, or, I mean, that's too basic to say sit up straight. You make yourself tense trying to sit up straight. But like the effort to sit balanced with open hands, open heart, open lungs, open hips should result in kind of a net positive. Like, you don't get so tired in the meditation. You stay alert. You don't get cramps or distracting muscle aggravations going on as much. And so you actually go deeper in another way. You know, it's kind of like wrestling devolved for me into a weight cutting exercise. And then the wrestling was like, the peak for me was making weight. I made weight. I won. Woo. And then, oh, I got to wrestle now. It's like a lot of people meditate like, I'm tough. I don't respond to my mind or anger. And then they become fragile and brittle, or they become intolerant. It's like, that's the opposite of what you're going for. But from the outside, you look like you're doing it. From the outside, it looked like I was doing what wrestlers do. But the inside, you know, is different. Okay. So I think I got the gist out. I feel like I didn't touch on, I had a sentence. I need to write these things down. So if any questions or comments, I could end it. We got Tony K, world-class apprentice. Tony Kazmiski is responsible for hosting all these episodes on Enlightened Masculinity and Spotify and Pandora and all the podcast apps. So that's TK, Kickstart Cash on Instagram. Why do morals change with certain emotions? Because we get caught into incidents and we have a different belief system in that incident that helped us survive early on. That's what we told ourselves, or that's what was told to us and drilled into us when we originally went through those incidents of that emotional frequency, of that vibe. And so we make different decisions, different ethical and moral decisions. Morals would be like the ethics of the group that you've agreed to. And so you break those agreements. So like, you agree to treat me a certain way, and then you get mad at me and you treat me a different way. Ethics and morals change there. Why? Because it feels more right in the emotion, but that's not logic. That's a very subjective logic of it feels right. But the decision, the outer decision, the objective decision and action and communication was different. It only made sense to you. And it makes sense to me or whoever that understands the situation you're going through. So through communication or through just empathy and understanding, I could see how you'd come to that. I might have done something different I might have done that if I had all the same experiences as you and felt the same way as you did in that moment. I probably would have come to the same conclusion. We could just say that, but to truly understand would be like a lot of communication and get the other person's perspective. And then that still doesn't make it right. It just means I get why you came to that. What's more right would be, well, I mean, all of you, I know, everybody on this stream, I can't speak for Instagram or anybody who listens to the recording, but everybody, you know, all 15 people on the Zoom stream right now have a good moral compass. Like you will correct yourself when you see a better way. You just have to see the better way and be blind to it, both from inside and the inside. So from inside, you don't see the better way. And then when on the outside, someone says, hey, this is a better way, you don't want to hear it or see it. Relaxation and rest will open your eyes and your mind to better ways. So imcbase1.com, that's where the trainings are with Arash. And ninthlimb.com, that's where my trainings are, number 9. And that's all for now. So we're going to go to gathering. I'll set up the laptop, although he may do it in his room, actually. So I may have like 5-10 minutes. If there's any questions, or we could just end it.
Hey, brother, thank you so much. Truly what I needed to hear. And I believe that the relaxation is most of the game as far as not getting stimulated in the first place is bad. My question is, when you do, or when I do get my button pushed, like one of my buttons I've realized last week is like when somebody offers me something and I say no, and then they keep offering it, or like, come on, man. And I get defensive, or basically because I think subconsciously I'm afraid of like, getting manipulated. And, how would you handle maybe that specific button, or just like, how would you communicate when your buttons are pressed in a way that's not as like hurtful to other people?
Yeah, there's a lot of mindset. Whoa, there's an echo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of mindset that'll come into that. That's a great question, because it's so fruitful. I could go on until it's done. I am very selfish when it comes to my time and my well-being, as maybe you are too. It's to a healthy way. I don't even know how it could be unhealthy. It's unhealthy when you become irrational about it. So it's not whether it's healthy or not. It's just, is that really for your benefit or not? So it's to your benefit to get rid of somebody that is not part of your tribe. But if they're in your tribe or in your family, or you live with, well, I mean, you still might leave them if you live with them, but like if they're in your tribe or family, then it may hurt you to hurt them. Otherwise, it's up to you. Like, they're outside. You're not going to physically hurt them. So what do you got to say to get them to stop? And tapping into that empowerment that you can do that, because who hasn't grown up not being able to say no strong enough? Women have this problem 100,000 times more than you. So that's why we got to be masters of body language if you really want to be a player. You don't want to catch yourself in weird situations that, because you saw someone else do it and you have kind of an idea of the skill set it takes to do whatever you want with that woman, she may have been saying no on some level and saying yes on another level. But just like you, but to a bigger extent, she's got all these personalities in her. And when she gets restimulated, it's going to be more that no side of things. And then when she's in love with you, it's all the yes side of things. Literally. So you just got to be master of reading tells and moving incrementally, so that even though you're always, there is guesswork in it, because you're not going to know everything that what she's going. She could be thinking something totally different. Like the classic example, she's cold when she crosses her arms. Doesn't even mean that she's like upset. She's just cold or something. So you don't always know. And there's always a little bit of leeway that, you're playing within kind of a safe zone when you're moving it along with a new woman, or even an old woman. Not that she's old, but like, that's how the saying goes. So every situation is going to be different contextually, like how you communicate to get rid of it. Just like in everybody's case, not having clear boundaries or defining your boundaries, there's something about them that thinks they still have a yellow light. So why do they still think they have a yellow light on you? What have you not done or said that lets them think they still have a yellow light on you? And they think it's about to turn green. Right? Why is it not red? It should be red light. So, I'm really not interested. Stop hitting me up. That like ends it. Or, I'm really not interested. Tell me how it's of value to me. Tell me how I benefit. Or, you'll fuck off, or I'm blocking you. Or just block them. Right? So these are just easy options. Not knowing anything about the context. That was just like general. Okay, cool. Anything else? Or did I answer everything? I forgot.
Yeah, you did. Thank you so much.
You bet. Appreciate you. Okay, we have time for one more. So the next up is the gathering. It's imcbase1.com. No Dragon's Lair lecture today. 6 days a week is Dragon's Lair. That's the entry-level members program. And then, the advanced program with nightly calls, more technique, less storytelling, more technique, and more infield when you see these sound bites, it maybe changes something. You just got to see it differently, and then you hear it once, and then you got it. And that's kind of like what gathering is. So AZD goes through his communication lines, and you just see. You fit it in with your life. Everybody should be there. Everybody here is already hella committed. I don't think anybody could even show up to my stream if they're not hella committed. Because I'm just gonna. I mean, Oleg is new, but like everybody else is like, I've probably gotten mad at each one of you individually. Son of Babylon was about to leave Dragon's Lair a month ago. He was leaving. He wasn't gonna be around anymore. That's happened with. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was not leaving. I had like a spiritual month, and I wanted to dedicate just 1 month in something, but I was still listening to classes. Like,
All right. Maybe I got you confused with Elias. It seems like you guys were having a spiritual awakening to a higher way of being, sort of, so to speak. But maybe I mistook. Oh, there was a little bit of that. Okay, I think I detected some of that. Okay, maybe that's what it was. Because when I sniff out anything like that, I just go. So that's why everybody that's here has been through that, and so you could only show up to my stream if you were like already hella dedicated. So I don't even need to sell to you. What's up. It was really more the yoga, and then of course the recordings, people that watch that. So I'm going to end this and go to the gathering now, and I'll see you all there. Namaste. Os.